From 1988, this is the Konami port of Gyruss for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, this game originally came out in 1983. It was created by a man named Yoshioka Okamoto. While he was working at Konami, he also created the game Time Pilot. Now, for some reason, shortly after the release of Gyruss in the arcades, there was a bit of a contract dispute over money, and Mr. Okamoto left Konami. But fortunately for us, he ended up getting a job over at Capcom, where he ended up creating some great games like 1942, Forgotten Worlds, Final Fight, and even some Street Fighter games. Now, the music that you hear in the background is Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. And when this came out in the arcade, it was a bit of a big deal because it was one of the very first arcade games that had a stereo cabinet. So even still, some games into the 90s still had some mono sound games. So it was really cool to hear a real Gyruss machine. If you hear it with the music pumped up, it gets you really into the game. Now, in the arcade, it had a really cool type of rotary joystick that would go around in a circle, kind of like the Atari game 720. And a lot of people call these types of games tube shooters. And I would say this is like pretty much like if the Japanese did Tempest, because it's pretty much the same deal where you're going around all around the screen and you're blasting out enemies and dodging the asteroids and anything else coming at you, whether it be enemy fire or not. Now, this is the Nintendo version that has a lot of different additions to it that make the game a whole lot better from the arcade game, in my opinion. For one thing that you probably saw from the past was that one stage where you actually have these different kind of like boss monsters that shoot stuff out at you. That was not present in the arcade version. You pretty much just shot wave after wave of enemies. And the other thing right here is after you collect your double shot, you can get a super shot, which you can activate by pressing the A button. And that pretty much is a big concentrated shot that knocks out all enemies. And it's really good to have for stuff like this with this boss fight right here where you have to destroy generators. And the whole game gets harder and harder as you go along. There's bigger bosses and just stuff to challenge you to get to the Earth. Now, this game was also ported on the Atari 2600, 5200, ColecoVision, and the Commodore 64. Now, this was also a port of the Famicom Disk System version, which ended up having more levels and stuff that the American version sadly didn't have. So, I'd also like to say a big thanks to Z from PBC Productions and Lance from RetroWare TV for making great video reviews of the arcade version as well as the NES version. Now you're seeing right here, this is the chance stage, kind of like in Galaga. And I did know right here that they have these other things that pop out that can give you more power-ups and also destroy all the enemies in one shot. I wish I would have known that before I did this. And as I said, the game is very cheap. We picked this one up for $5 from Digital Press, New Jersey. I'll have to pick up my own copy after I played this. I really enjoyed it. And there was a version of this ported to the Xbox 360. It's not as good, and I plan on having a full arcade home port review of that soon. And that is Konami's Gyruss for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll have more arcade home port reviews for you soon on arcade-hunters.com. Thanks for watching.